The rain drummed against the windows of my apartment in Arlington, Virginia, matching the rhythm of my restless thoughts. I stared at my phone screen, the Instagram post glowing mockingly in the dim morning light. There she was, my younger sister Emma, radiant in a white dress, holding up an elegant wedding invitation with gold lettering. The caption read, "Can't wait to celebrate with all our loved ones. Save the date, October 15th, all our loved ones." The words stung more than I cared to admit. I set my coffee mug down with more force than necessary, the sharp clink echoing through my modest one-bedroom apartment. 3 months. Emma had been engaged for 3 months, and I'd found out through social media like some distant acquaintance rather than her older sister. My phone buzzed. A text from my colleague, Captain Marcus Rivera. "General wants to see you in her office at 0900. Something about the security detail for next month's state dinner." I glanced at the clock. 0745. Just enough time to put on my dress blues and drive to the Pentagon. At least work would provide a distraction from the family drama that seemed to follow me like a shadow. The truth was, I hadn't spoken to my parents or Emma in nearly 5 years. Not since that explosive Christmas dinner when I'd announced my decision to join the Army instead of taking over Dad's law firm. The memory still made my jaw clench, Dad's face turning purple with rage, Mom's tears, Emma's shocked silence as I walked out of their Greenwich, Connecticut mansion for what I thought would be the last time. "You're throwing your life away, Sarah," Dad had shouted, his voice echoing through their marble foyer. "Princeton Law School. You were accepted to Princeton and you're choosing to be a grunt?" "I'm choosing to serve my country," I'd replied, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. "Don't be ridiculous. No daughter of mine. Then I guess I'm not your daughter anymore." Those words had hung in the air like a death sentence. Mom had reached for me, but Dad had grabbed her arm, his expression colder than the December wind outside. Emma, only 19 then, had looked between us all, tears streaming down her face. "Sarah, please," she'd whispered. "Don't go like this." But I'd left anyway, my duffel bag slung over my shoulder, my acceptance letter to Officer Candidate School burning a hole in my pocket. That was the last time I'd seen any of them in person. Now, 5 years later, I was Major Sarah Collins, Executive Officer to General Patricia Hayes, one of the highest-ranking women in the U.S. Army. I'd served 2 tours in Afghanistan, earned a Bronze Star, and found a family among my fellow soldiers that accepted me for who I was, not who they wanted me to be. The Pentagon's halls were already bustling when I arrived. I nodded to the security guards who knew me by name, my heels clicking against the polished floors as I made my way to General Hayes' office. "Morning, Major Collins." Lieutenant Jessica Chen greeted me from her desk outside the general's office. "She's waiting for you." General Patricia Hayes was a force of nature, 62 years old with silver hair pulled back in a regulation bun, and eyes that could pierce through steel. She'd been my mentor since I was a young captain, seeing something in me that I hadn't even seen in myself. "Sit down, Sarah," she said without looking up from a classified briefing. "We need to discuss the security arrangements for the state dinner. The president specifically requested our involvement." I pulled out my tablet, ready to take notes. "Yes, ma'am. I've reviewed the preliminary guest list, several foreign dignitaries, including some individuals who've been targeted by extremist groups," General Hayes finished, "which is why the Secret Service wants our tactical assessment. You'll be working directly with them over the next few weeks." "Understood, General." She finally looked up, her sharp gaze studying me. "You seem distracted today. Everything all right?" I hesitated. General Hayes had always been more than just my commanding officer. She'd become the mother figure I'd lost when I'd walked away from my family. But mixing personal issues with professional duties wasn't something I did. "I'm fine, ma'am. Just some family matters." Her expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Sarah, you've been working for me for 3 years. I know when something's bothering you. This wouldn't have anything to do with that wedding invitation your sister posted on social media, would it?" My eyes widened. "How did you—" "My niece went to Yale with her. Small world." She leaned back in her chair. "Have you spoken to them?" "No, ma'am. We haven't talked in 5 years." "And you're not invited to the wedding?" The word stuck in my throat. "It appears not." General Hayes was quiet for a moment, then stood and walked to the window overlooking the Potomac. "You know, Sarah, I didn't speak to my father for 10 years after I joined the Army. He wanted me to be a teacher, settle down, have babies, the usual expectations for women of his generation. I remained silent, knowing she rarely spoke about her personal life. "He died while I was deployed in Iraq," she continued. "Heart attack. I didn't even make it back for the funeral. My biggest regret isn't joining the Army. It's letting pride keep me from at least trying to bridge that gap." She turned back to me. I'm not saying you should crash your sister's wedding or beg for forgiveness. You did nothing wrong by choosing your own path. But maybe it's worth considering whether 5 years of silence is enough. They made their position clear, General. I'm not the daughter they wanted. No, she agreed. You're the daughter you needed to be. There's a difference. She returned to her desk. Now, let's focus on this security briefing. But Sarah, think about what I said. Family is complicated, but sometimes people change. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of security protocols, threat assessments, and coordination meetings. But General Hayes's words echoed in my mind. Had my family changed? Did it matter if they had? During lunch, I found myself sitting alone in my car, Emma's Instagram page open on my phone. I scrolled through years of posts, her college graduation, I'd sent a card that was never acknowledged, her first job at a fashion magazine in New York, vacation photos from places we'd talked about visiting together as kids. And peppered throughout were family photos, Mom, Dad, and Emma at restaurants, holiday gatherings, birthday parties. The family of 3, complete without me. My thumb hovered over the message button. What would I even say? Hey sis, saw you're getting married. Congrats on not inviting me. The bitterness in my own thoughts surprised me. A knock on my car window made me jump. Marcus stood outside, concern written on his face. You missed the tactical briefing, he said when I rolled down the window. That's not like you. I checked the time and cursed. I'd been sitting here for over an hour. I'm sorry, Sarah, what's going on? And don't say nothing. We've been through too much together for you to lie to me. Marcus and I had served together in Afghanistan. He'd saved my life during an ambush, and I'd returned the favor a month later. If anyone deserved the truth, it was him. My sister's getting married. I found out through Instagram. His expression darkened. The family that disowned you for serving your country? They didn't technically disown me. We just stopped talking. Same difference. He leaned against my car. You thinking about reaching out? General Hayes thinks I should consider it. General Hayes is wise, but she's not the one who had to choose between her dreams and her family. He paused. Look, I know it's not my place, but you've built a good life here. You've got people who respect you, who care about you. Real family isn't always blood. I knew he was right. My unit had become my family. They'd celebrated with me when I got promoted, comforted me after difficult missions, stood by me through everything the last 5 years had thrown at us. I should go to the wedding, I heard myself say, surprising both of us. Not to reconcile, just to see her get married, even if I have to watch from across the street like some stalker. Marcus laughed. Well, that's not creepy at all. Look, if you decide to go, you won't go alone. I'll be your +1. Moral support and all that. You'd do that? Sarah, you're like the sister I never had. The much more competent, occasionally terrifying sister. He grinned. Besides, I look great in a suit. That evening, I found myself standing in front of my closet, staring at the single civilian dress I owned. A simple black cocktail dress I'd bought for a military gala 2 years ago. If I was going to attempt to attend my sister's wedding, invited or not, I'd need something more appropriate. My phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. The number was unlisted, which usually meant work. Major Collins, I answered. Major, this is Agent Davidson from the Secret Service. We need to move up our timeline for the state dinner security review. Can you meet tomorrow morning at the White House? Of course. What time? 0700 sharp. There's been a development with one of the foreign dignitaries. General Hayes said you're our point person on this. I'll be there. After hanging up, I made a decision. I opened my laptop and began typing an email to Emma's public relations firm email, the only contact information I had for her. Emma, I saw your engagement announcement. Congratulations. I know we haven't spoken in years, and I don't expect that to change now, but I wanted you to know that I'm happy for you. You deserve all the love and happiness in the world. I won't pretend to understand why I wasn't invited to your wedding, but I respect your decision. I just wanted you to know that despite everything, I still love you. You're still my little sister, even if I'm no longer your big sister. I hope your wedding day is everything you've dreamed of. Sarah. I stared at the cursor blinking after my name, then added, P.S. I'm proud of who you've become. I've followed your career from afar, and you're doing amazing things. Mom and Dad must be so proud. Before I could lose my nerve, I hit send. The next morning arrived too quickly. I'd barely slept, checking my email obsessively for a response that never came. The White House security checkpoint was more thorough than usual, and I noticed increased Secret Service presence as Agent Davidson escorted me through the West Wing. The threat level has been elevated, he explained as we walked. One of the attending dignitaries has been specifically targeted. We need someone with combat experience to assess our defensive positions. We entered a conference room where several agents were already gathered around a table covered in blueprints and security protocols. What caught my attention, however, was the guest list on the wall, hundreds of names of America's most powerful and influential people. "Let's start with the main ballroom," Agent Davidson began, but I was only half listening. My eyes had found something on the guest list that made my blood run cold. There, among the corporate executives and political donors, were three names I knew by heart: Robert Collins, Margaret Collins, and Emma Collins, soon to be Whitman. My family would be at the state dinner, the same event where I'd be working security. "Major Collins," Agent Davidson's voice brought me back to reality. "Are you with us?" "Yes, sorry, you were saying about the ballroom?" But my mind was racing. In just a few weeks, I'd be in the same room as my family for the first time in 5 years. They wouldn't know I was there. I'd be in uniform, part of the security detail, invisible to the guests living their glittering lives. It was almost poetic, really. They'd be dining with the president while their disowned daughter stood guard in the shadows, protecting them without their knowledge. The daughter they'd said was throwing her life away would be trusted with protecting the most powerful people in the nation, including them. As we continued the security briefing, I made another decision. I wouldn't try to attend Emma's wedding. That chapter of my life was closed. But maybe, just maybe, seeing them at the state dinner would give me the closure I didn't know I needed. The rain had stopped by the time I left the White House, and weak sunlight broke through the clouds. As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed with a text from General Hayes. "Heard you're leading the military security detail for the state dinner. Proud of you, Sarah. You've earned this." I smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the emerging sun. I had earned this. Every promotion, every commendation, every moment of respect from my peers, I'd earned it all through my own sweat and sacrifice. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was an email notification. My heart skipped when I saw it was from Emma's personal email address. "Sarah, I can't believe you emailed me. I've started to write to you so many times over the years, but always deleted it, not knowing what to say. There's so much I need to tell you, but not like this. Not through email. I know you're in DC. Could we meet for coffee? Just the two of us? Please? I've missed you every single day. Emma." I read the email 3 times, my hands shaking slightly. She'd missed me. After 5 years of silence, my little sister had missed me. But what about the wedding? Why reach out now but not invite me to the most important day of her life? And what about our parents? Did they know she was contacting me? I started to type a response, then stopped. General Hayes's words echoed in my mind. Sometimes people change. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. But I'd spent 5 years wondering, and now I had a chance to find out. "Emma," I typed. "Thursday, 2 p.m., the Hamilton on 14th Street. I'll be there. S." As I drove back to the Pentagon, I couldn't shake the feeling that my carefully compartmentalized life was about to collide in ways I couldn't predict. The state dinner, my family's attendance, Emma's sudden contact, it was all happening too fast. But I was Major Sarah Collins. I'd faced enemy fire, led soldiers through impossible situations, and built a life of honor and purpose from the ashes of my family's rejection. Whatever came next, I'd face it the same way I faced everything else, head high, spine straight, and ready for battle. Even if this time, the battlefield was a coffee shop, and the enemy was 5 years of silence that might finally be ready to break. Thursday arrived with unseasonable warmth for October in DC, the kind of day that made the Potomac sparkle and tourists flood the monuments. I'd changed clothes 3 times that morning, finally settling on my civilian uniform. Dark jeans, a crisp white button-down, and a navy blazer. Professional, but not military. I wanted Emma to see Sarah, not Major Collins. The Hamilton was bustling with the lunch crowd when I arrived at 1:45. I'd chosen a corner table with clear sightlines to both entrances. Old habits die hard. My coffee sat untouched as I watched government workers and Georgetown students flow past the windows. At 2:03, I saw her. Emma had always been beautiful, but 5 years had transformed her from a college student into a sophisticated woman. Her designer dress probably cost more than my monthly rent, and her hair fell in perfect waves that screamed professional styling. But when she spotted me through the window, her face crumpled into an expression I recognized from childhood, the same one she'd worn when she'd skinned her knee learning to ride a bike, looking to her big sister for comfort. She hesitated at the door, and for a moment, I thought she might run. Then she squared her shoulders, a gesture so reminiscent of our father that it made my chest tight, and walked in. "Sarah." Her voice was barely above a whisper as she stood beside the table, clutching her purse like a lifeline. "Hi, Em." The childhood nickname slipped out before I could stop it, and her eyes filled with tears. She sat down quickly, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. "I'm sorry," she said. "I promised myself I wouldn't cry. It's just, you look so different, so official, so old," I suggested with a wry smile. "Accomplished," she corrected. "You look like someone who commands respect, who makes important decisions, who," she trailed off, studying my face, "who doesn't need us anymore." "Emma, I know about your Bronze Star," she interrupted, "and your promotions, and that you work at the Pentagon with General Hayes. I've followed your career through military newsletters and public records. Is that stalking? That's probably stalking." I blinked, stunned. "You've been keeping track of me?" "Of course I have. You're my sister." She said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world, as if 5 years of silence hadn't stood between us. "Did you really think I could just forget you existed?" "Mom and Dad seemed to manage it pretty well." Emma flinched. That's actually what I wanted to talk to you about. Sarah, there are things you don't know. Things that happened after you left." A waiter appeared, and Emma ordered a green tea with shaking hands. When he left, she took a deep breath. "Dad had a heart attack, 2 months after you left." The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped my coffee cup, processing this information. He survived. Triple bypass surgery. He was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and the recovery took months. Emma's voice was steady, but her hands trembled as she spoke. "He kept asking for you. Even delirious from the medications, he'd call your name. Mom tried to find you, but you'd already left for basic training, and the Army wouldn't give her information without your permission." I felt sick. While I'd been proving myself at Fort Benning, my father had been fighting for his life. "Why didn't you try to contact me through social media? Email? Something?" "We did. Mom sent dozens of emails to your old address. They all bounced back. Your social media was deactivated. It was like you'd vanished from the earth." Emma's green tea arrived, and she wrapped her hands around it. "Mom hired a private investigator. Did you know that? She spent thousands of dollars trying to find you, just to tell you that Dad was sick and that they wanted you to come home. I changed my email when I enlisted," I admitted, "and I blocked Mom and Dad on everything. I paused, shame washing over me. I thought a clean break would be easier." "For who?" Emma's voice held 5 years of suppressed anger. "Because it wasn't easier for me. I was 19, Sarah. I watched Dad almost die, watched Mom fall apart, and my big sister, the person I'd always counted on, was gone. You didn't just leave them. You left me." The accusation hung between us, undeniable in its truth. I had left her. In my anger at our parents, I'd abandoned my little sister when she'd needed me most. "I'm sorry," I said, the words inadequate but necessary. "I was so angry, so hurt by their rejection, that I didn't think about what it would do to you. That was selfish of me." Emma's anger deflated as quickly as it had risen. "I understood why you left. I did. The things Dad said that night, it was horrible. But Sarah, he changed. The heart attack. It was like it reset something in him. He kept saying he'd driven away his daughter over pride, that he'd chosen his vision of your life over your actual life. And Mom never forgave him for letting you walk out that door. They sleep in separate bedrooms now. Have for 3 years." Emma's revelation stunned me. My parents, who'd seemed so united in their disappointment, had fractured. "She goes to therapy twice a week. The therapist says she has complicated grief, mourning someone who's still alive." I stared at my coffee, trying to reconcile this information with the parents I'd left behind. "Why are you telling me this now? Why not years ago?" "Because I was angry too," Emma admitted. "Angry that you left me to deal with everything alone. Angry that you got to escape while I had to hold everything together. I became the perfect daughter they'd wanted you to be. Law degree from Yale, appropriate career, appropriate fiancé. I thought if I did everything right, it would somehow fix what was broken. Did it?" She laughed bitterly. "No, it just made me realize how brave you were to walk away. I'm 24, Sarah, and I've never made a single decision that wasn't calculated to please them. Even this wedding." She stopped herself, shaking her head. "Tell me about your fiancé," I said, trying to shift to safer ground. "Christopher Whitman, right? Investment banker?" Emma's face went carefully neutral. "You've done your research too. Just what's public. He seems successful, handsome. He's everything Mom and Dad wanted for me. Harvard MBA, comes from old money, member of all the right clubs. He proposed at the Yale Club in front of 50 of their closest friends. It was perfect." The way she said perfect made it sound like a prison sentence. "Do you love him?" Emma was quiet for so long I thought she wouldn't answer. Then, "I love the life he represents. Stability, acceptance. No fights at Christmas dinner about career choices. Is that the same thing? You know it's not. Yeah, she whispered. I know. We sat in silence for a moment, the bustling cafe noise a strange backdrop to our heavy conversation. About the wedding, Emma finally said. Sarah, I need you to understand. Not inviting you wasn't my choice. Mom and Dad are paying for everything, and Dad made it clear that if I invited you, they'd cancel it all. Christopher's family is very traditional, very concerned about appearances. The story they've told everyone is that you're stationed overseas and can't make it back. So I'm the family secret, the skeleton in the Collins closet. No, you're the ghost that haunts every family gathering. Your empty chair at Christmas dinner. Your bedroom that Mom turned into a study but can't bring herself to actually use. Your graduation photo that Dad took down but keeps in his desk drawer. I've seen him looking at it when he thinks no one's watching. The image of my father, the man who disowned me, keeping my photo in his desk was almost too much to process. What do you want from me, Emma? Why reach out now? She leaned forward, her eyes intense. Because in 3 weeks, I'm going to put on a white dress and marry a man I don't love, in front of 200 people, with a smile plastered on my face. And the only person who might understand why that's killing me is the sister who was brave enough to say no to that life. I know about the state dinner, she said suddenly. Christopher's family got us invited. Some donation to someone's campaign. I know you'll be there, working security. I looked up the military liaison assignments. So much for that surprise. How very thorough of you. I learned from the best. You always said information was power. She smiled sadly. I was hoping. I know this is a lot to ask, but I was hoping we could talk. Really talk. Before the dinner, before the wedding, before I make a mistake I can't take back. Are you asking for my permission to call off your wedding? I'm asking for my big sister to tell me what she really thinks, not what she thinks I want to hear. I studied her face, seeing past the perfect makeup to the scared young woman underneath. This wasn't the entitled princess I'd built up in my mind over 5 years of resentment. This was my little sister, lost and looking for an anchor. I think, I said slowly, that you already know what you want to do. You just need someone to tell you it's okay to do it. Is it, though? Is it okay to disappoint everyone who's counting on me? To waste all that money? To embarrass Christopher, who hasn't done anything wrong except be exactly what everyone wants him to be? Let me ask you something, I said. In 5 years, when you're 30, maybe with kids, still married to Christopher, will you regret not taking this chance to choose differently? Or will you be grateful you stayed the course? Emma's eyes filled with tears again. I used to have panic attacks. Did you know that? After you left? The doctor said it was anxiety, prescribed medication. But I knew what it really was. I was terrified of becoming someone I didn't recognize, of waking up one day and realizing I'd lived everyone's life but my own. And now? Now I take the medication and smile at charity galas and plan seating charts for a wedding that feels like a funeral. She laughed through her tears. God, listen to me. Poor little rich girl problems, right? Pain is pain, Em. It doesn't matter if it comes wrapped in designer clothing or combat fatigues. She reached across the table suddenly, grabbing my hand. Her engagement ring, a massive diamond that caught the light, pressed against my palm. I've missed you so much, she said. Not just since you left. I've missed you for years before that, as you tried to squeeze yourself into their mold. The real you. The sister who taught me to climb trees and question authority and dream bigger than Connecticut dinner parties. I squeezed her hand back, my own eyes burning. I've missed you too. Will you... She hesitated. Will you meet me again? Not just once, but regularly? I know you can't come to the wedding, and I understand why. But after, when the dust settles, could we try to be sisters again? What about Mom and Dad? Let me worry about them. I'm done letting their fear control my relationships. She glanced at her phone and sighed. Speaking of which, I have to go. Wedding planner appointment. We're choosing between 3 shades of white for the napkins, because apparently that's a crucial decision that requires an hour of my life. We stood awkwardly, neither sure how to end this reunion. Finally, Emma stepped forward and hugged me. She still wore the same perfume, vanilla and jasmine, and for a moment, I was 17 again, comforting her after her first heartbreak. I'll email you, she promised. And Sarah? That state dinner. Be careful. I know you'll be working, but Mom and Dad will be there. They don't know about your assignment, and seeing you might... I'll be professional, I assured her. They won't even know I'm there. Emma gave me a look that said she wasn't buying it, but didn't push. As she walked away, her heels clicking on the pavement, I heard her mutter, 3 shades of white. Jesus. I sat back down, finally taking a sip of my now cold coffee. The conversation had left me raw, like a wound that had been reopened and cleaned. painful but necessary for healing. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. How'd it go? Do I need to come bail you out of jail for assault with a deadly scone? I smiled, despite everything. No bail needed. It was complicated. Want to talk about it? I'm at the gym, but I can meet you after. I considered it, then typed back. Rain check? I need to process. Roger that. But Sarah, I'm proud of you for trying. As I left the Hamilton, I felt the weight of 5 years of assumptions crumbling. My family wasn't the monolithic unit of rejection I'd imagined. They were broken, each nursing wounds from that night I'd walked away. Dad with his guilt and failing heart, Mom with her grief in separate bedroom, Emma with her perfect life that was slowly suffocating her. And me? I'd built myself into someone strong and independent, but I'd also built walls so high that I'd missed my father's heart attack, my mother's breakdown, and my sister's silent cry for help. Back at my apartment, I stood in front of my small bookshelf, where a single framed photo sat face down. I'd turned it over the day I'd enlisted and hadn't looked at it since. Now, I picked it up and turned it around. It was from Emma's high school graduation. The 4 of us stood in front of our house, sunshine making us squint. Dad's arm was around Mom's shoulders, Emma was making bunny ears behind my head, and I was laughing at something off camera. We looked happy. We looked whole. We looked like a family that didn't know it was about to shatter. I set the photo upright and stepped back. The past couldn't be changed. But maybe, just maybe, the future didn't have to be an endless continuation of the same pain. My laptop chimed with a new email. It was from General Hayes. Final security briefing for the state dinner moved to Monday. The president specifically requested you lead the military detail. Congratulations, Major. This is a significant honor. I stared at the email, the irony not lost on me. In 2 weeks, I'd stand in the White House, protecting the president and the nation's elite, including the parents who'd said I was throwing my life away. They'd look right through me, another nameless soldier in dress blues, never knowing their disgraced daughter had become someone the president trusted with his life. Another email popped up, this one from Emma. Thank you for today. I know it wasn't easy. I have so much more to tell you, but it's a start, right? P.S. I kept all your old letters from when you were at West Point summer camp in high school. Remember when you said you'd either be a general or a rebel? Looks like you became both. Love, Em. I smiled, remembering those letters. I'd been 16, full of dreams and defiance, writing to my little sister about leadership and duty and serving something greater than myself. Even then, I'd known I didn't fit the mold they'd prepared for me. The afternoon sun slanted through my windows, highlighting the medals on my dress uniform hanging in the open closet. Bronze Star, Army Commendation Medal, Afghanistan Campaign Medal, each one a step further from the life my parents had planned, and closer to the person I was meant to be. My phone rang. General Hayes. Major, I wanted to speak with you privately about the state dinner, she said without preamble. I've been informed that your family will be in attendance. Is this going to be a problem? I straightened instinctively, even though she couldn't see me. No, ma'am. I'll maintain complete professionalism. I have no doubt about that. But Sarah, I want you to know that if you need to recuse yourself from this assignment, no one would think less of you. Family complications are complicated, I finished. I appreciate that, General, but I want this assignment. I've earned it. Yes, she said softly. You have. Just remember, you're not there to prove anything to anyone. You're there because you're one of the best officers I've ever had the privilege to command. Whatever history exists between you and your family, it doesn't diminish what you've accomplished. Thank you, ma'am. After she hung up, I walked to my window and looked out at the Arlington skyline. Somewhere across the river, my parents were living their lives, maybe planning their outfits for the state dinner. Emma was choosing napkin colors for a wedding that might not happen. And I was here in my small apartment, wearing my choices like armor. The next 2 weeks would be a test, not of my military bearing or professional capabilities, but of my ability to face the past without letting it define my future. I'd been trained for combat, for split-second decisions under fire, for leadership in impossible situations. But nobody had trained me for this. Standing in the same room as the family I'd lost, wearing the uniform they'd despised, protecting them as part of my duty to a nation they'd never wanted me to serve. I picked up my phone and scrolled to a contact I hadn't used in years. Mom. My finger hovered over the call button, then moved away. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But for the first time in 5 years, never didn't feel like the only option. The sun was setting now, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, security protocols to review, teams to coordinate, a presidential dinner to protect. But tonight I had a sister who missed me, a mentor who believed in me, and a life I'd built with my own hands. It wasn't the life anyone had planned for me, but it was mine. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough.